Hello everyone, my name is Josh, and this is a project for the final exam for the online IDSP 310 course for the spring 2014 semester. We were given a situation for our town where they would be building a 45 story condominium that would offer many other different amenities as well, such as laundromat, bakery, also parking facilities. So basically a small city, I guess you could say, within a specific condominium area as compared to just the whole town itself. For many, this may fit very well into their area, but I feel like this would not work so well in my specific area just because of the pre-existing infrastructure and the developments that are already there, as well as the overall environment. So first I'm going to focus on some of the sociology. Like I said, my area is not very urban, I guess you could say. It's more suburban, so it's a little more quiet, and people have their own space. Each person has their own property, front yard, backyard. That's why it's just different from how a apartment housing complex or condominium would be set up, simply because in that type of situation, there is a lot more contact with people. You see people as you're just going to and from, the entrance and exit of the building throughout your normal day. Whereas you may not see as many people as you leave your house because, you might run into one of your neighbors here and there, but it's not as likely. It's not necessarily a bad thing, having the contact, but sometimes people just kind of want to have their own space. So that is a different aspect of the environment of my town that I feel like would not coincide so well with the new development of the condominiums. This can also lead to less natural space because obviously there needs to be space to build this type of infrastructure. So that potentially there would either have to be a taking away of some natural space that already exists, such as a park, in order to make room for this new infrastructure, or there would have to be the demolishment of some pre-existing infrastructure, such as houses or shopping centers, for example, that would have to be done in order for this project to take place. The next part is politics. Something like this, being introduced into an area that is already well established and has been around for years, is something that many people may be against or for, like I said, so there could be some conflict or tension that arises there, and politicians, I'm sure, would feel the same way about this, and they would have to focus on all the aspects accordingly in order to do the best, what they think is best for the community. So like I said, some people are going to say it's a really good idea, others not so much, so they need to find a happy medium. But like I said, there's always going to be some that are against it, regardless, even if you did this in a more urban area, such as a city, there's always going to be those that are against it. So you kind of just have to focus on the best aspects of it and try and persuade them that is a really good idea. But I think this would just not ruin the area, but definitely increase the tension, and that it's not a good thing because it's, like I said, my area is relatively quiet, and everyone pretty much gets along with everyone else. So potentially introducing something like this into the area runs the risk of kind of ruining that relationship that people have with one another. Also, like I said, the biggest thing to me is changing the overall environment of the area. Big buildings like this do not exist in the area. We have some taller buildings, but maybe 4 or 5 stories at max. So like I said, most of the area is pretty scaled down from an architectural aspect. So introducing a 45-story apartment condominium is something that would kind of stick out and may not fit well with the surrounding area as much. Like I said, as soon as you travel into the area, say in your car, you're gonna see this big building automatically right away, and not even think twice about it because it's just gonna basically hit you right in the face. And compared to the rest of the area, it's too much of a difference. Like I said, so maybe some more urban areas, this would work very well. since there are some taller buildings and taller apartment complexes and things like that. But for an area like mine, where it's pretty low on the architectural scale, just as far as height of the buildings, having a big building like that, or big buildings, would not work very well. And the potential contrast between infrastructure and the natural environment also runs a risk, because there needs to be room, like I said before, there needs to be room and space for the building of this type of infrastructure, and that runs the potential for getting rid of some natural or public space that already exists in the area. Um, the next point would be that the planning and development would be intense. There would have to be, besides expansion just of the new project itself for the building, there would have to be other expansions. Simply something as simple as the roads. If there's going to be more people in the area and the population is going to increase and there's going to be more traffic most of the time, the roads are going to need to be expanded and maintained better than they already are, because the roads are not used to handling that excess of people. So that's another thing that even connects to politics, because politicians are going to have to focus on that, and they're going to have to budget certain things and focus on other things that are going to have to be changed as well, just besides the building. That's why this project probably wouldn't work so well in my area. Simply, like I said before, it's already well established, and having to change many aspects, like I said, something as simple as the roads becomes a big issue for others that are in the area, because roads will be closed and the overall amount of people is just going to increase, and that potentially also changes the environment of the area. Um, Also, we have about the businesses and the local service stores. There are many local businesses in my area, and these businesses help the area succeed, and they thrive on the locals coming in for their business, regardless of the business. Restaurants, um, bakeries, laundromats, many of the aspects that may be incorporated into these new condominiums. It said since the area already has all these businesses, introducing this condominium with its own set of businesses is great, but it would definitely affect the economy of the local area, because these other small businesses would not be able to survive when all these people moving in are not really going to use those businesses. They're going to stick with the businesses that are already in the facility itself. Um, this is something that would be really good for an area that is not well established, such as an area that does not have a lot of local businesses, where individuals in the area they have to travel farther to certain places just for general things, such as a grocery store or um, say a coffee shop. They need to travel farther to these things. So in that case, um, these types of facilities would be located directly in the building in which they live, which would be very efficient for them. Like I said, for an area such as mine, having to having to take away from the local businesses in order to just add more housing is not really a good thing for the overall let's say the overall environmental, I guess, sense of the area. Like I said, it's a very close-knit community, and many of the people they enjoy the small local businesses, and it's vice versa. The local businesses enjoy the people. So kind of taking that factor away, that personal factor, would definitely change things. All right. Lastly, we're going to talk about just the housing in general. As good as the housing may be for the area, I think the area is just not well fit for such um, a crowded population. I said it is a smaller suburban area. It's not. It is growing. It has grown over the last few years. There has been more building of houses and expansion of houses, but the fact the fact of adding in a big apartment type complex would not necessarily work out so well, like I said before, just simply because you'd have to expand many of the other aspects, such as the roads and everything else. So it would be kind of difficult, especially for the people who have been living here their whole lives, 50, 60 years. It'd be very difficult for them to deal with that change. Whereas another area that's more urban would really benefit from this type of infrastructure or this type of complex that would be built, because they don't have the businesses already in the area. They don't have other infrastructure or public or natural space, such as a park, that are already in my area. Um, they're still early in their planning and development, so they would be able to develop bigger roads and better traffic flows, so that the area would not be as crowded, because none of the pre-existing structures, or very little of the pre-existing structures, are already in the area, right? So I would, in closing, simply because this type of this type of infrastructure would change the overall environment of the area, is a problem simply to me, because my area focuses so much on the environment, as many saw in my project, simply because of the kind of interpersonal relations that people can relate to, such as just seeing your neighbors and things like that. It's different from a more urban setting where you have to go to big chain stores or malls instead of just local businesses that are located right around the corner. And I don't know if having big buildings, big infrastructure, would work well with the surrounding area. Like I said, there is a good contrast in my area regarding natural space, as well as some buildings and little strip malls here and there. But having such big buildings in an area that's relatively scaled low on the architectural scale is something that may not work so well, and may not be very appealing to either people coming into the area or people that have already been living in the area over all these years. So for that reason, I would have to say that this idea would not be good, because the area is developed and because of the overall environment of the area. I'm sure many people have differing viewpoints on this, and they may say it's a great thing, but simply based on my area, I feel like this project would not work well. It may bring it may have some advantages, like I've stated in this video, but I think the disadvantages definitely outweigh the advantages here. Thank you.